Hello, I'm Joel Blackford with Beth Hassett Sabbath Fellowship. Thank you for joining us. We are virtual only based out of St. Paul, Minnesota. The phone number works if you'd like to contact us. We do the philosophy of eschatology, what you need to know, your reality, our existence, the thought behind the thought. John Haller does the best job of the news, and he's on with Fellowship Bible Chapel every week on Sundays. I do the thought behind the thought. We solve a little piece of Revelation each week. This week it's going to be Revelation chapter 6 and Matthew 24, comparing the two together because we're talking about the birth pangs. And I think the water is breaking because of the floods across the world. And we'll see what you think of my links. And I'm sharing some opinions from some of my friends too. So the person that dreamed this up is Abraham Ojeda. He's going to be on Prophecy Roundtable coming up. Oh goodness, I want to say that it's December-ish, but I'm blanking on which week it is. So anyway, I think it's the second week in December. And a great guy, and he's going to be unlocking Bible prophecy secrets, and just a wonderful guy. So anyway, he thought about this, and so I want to first cite Tim Hillis because this is interesting. The final push is about to begin. So I sent out this message to people, and this is what Tim shared concerning the water breaking. Not long before we left China in 2019, I was working on my book, Theology Reconsidered. One day while sitting in the living room, Naphtali, his son, was in the kitchen of our apartment, and I just began sobbing over something that struck me. I heard, felt, sensed, discerned. It's God's Spirit. He's a charismatic. He's a great guy. Or whatever the label fits, the final push is about to begin. I realized immediately it was about the birth pangs. So once again, thank you, Dr. Tim Hillis. Good friend, good, wonderful guy, charismatic, messianic, love him dearly. So basically what we're going to do today is look at it from those angles. Spirit and truth meets the birth pangs, and look at the Bible, look at prophecy, look at news, and see what you think. So first of all, we'll start on the right-hand side with Matthew 24. For peoples will fight against each other, nations will fight each other, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various parts of the world. All this is but the beginning of the birth pangs. At that time you will be arrested and handed over and be punished and put to death, and all peoples will hate you because of me. Matthew 24, 7 through 9. So we're going to the birth pangs, and Trump is going to kick them into overdrive, okay? Because that's how Trump drives. Pedal to the metal. And so this is from Ben Shapiro. Trump is Noah, made to save this generation. Not so much. God is made to save this generation. Trump is just going to kick it into overdrive. So here's the thing. God spared Donald Trump's life during the election cycle. Now I know I know a lot of our listeners may not be big on God. They may not believe in God, but I have to say it sometimes is pretty difficult not to see his hand moving in history. And God's hand was clearly on Donald Trump when Donald Trump turned his head 20 degrees and avoided having his brains blown out on live national TV. Whoa. So bottom line is those are part of the birth pangs because Trump had to come back into office to get certain things done, especially vis-a-vis Israel. So things will occur. These are the birth pangs. They're very different. So now we're going to go into Abraham Ojeda and some of these other things. What if we are in labor, active labor? Abraham thought the recent spate of worldwide floods were birth pangs and that the water breaking prior to birth. Now, he likens it to a nuke, but it's still a really cool comparison. Are we born of flesh? Are we born of water and spirit? I'm going to go a different direction. I'm going to go with the water and the spirit analogy, and I'll show you in the scripture. I would assume there will be those operating in God's spirit, and they will be born from water and spirit, and those without a spirit will be born of flesh. Many of them will go to heaven either way, but many people do not operate in God's spirit. They're not spirit and truth. And I argue that the truth side is Torah. So Abraham, once again, here's what he said. I see what you are saying. My view is that the earth itself can be thought of as a woman, and that the water breaking that we have been witnessing from Florida to North Carolina to Spain to France, etc., is a sign that the tribulation of nuclear war is about to overtake the earth. This is my primary interpretation of the Great Tribulation, basically that it's about getting to the nuke. It's backed up by Zechariah 5, the flying scrolls. He claims that's a nuke, plus Isaiah 22, the archers of Elam are basically a nuke. So that's Abraham. Interesting. So he's likening the birth pangs to just getting closer to a nuclear event, and that would be the great tribulation or the tribulation or great tribulation. Either way, very interesting. I can see why that works, and that would be like a birth. Now, my opinion. This is me. So this is active labor as far as I'm concerned with. With the flooding. So Nakdeman said to him, "How can a grown man be born? How could he go back into his mother's womb and be born a second time?" Yeshua answered, "Yes, indeed, I tell you that unless a person is born from water and the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. What is born from the flesh is flesh, and what is born from the Spirit is spirit." Stop being amazed at my telling you that you must be born again from above. The wind blows where it wants to, and you hear its sound, but you do not know where it comes from or where it's going. That's how it is with everyone who has been born from the Spirit. So I'm arguing rather than a nuke, it's basically about birth that's coming, and it's really this new time frame that's coming on the earth, and also so it's Joel 2:28 through 32. It's you could argue that it's also Jeremiah 31, and these times, it's basically when Yeshua returns and he gives out his Spirit. So once again, it could be Joel 2 and Acts 2 and God giving out his Spirit more. And we go through horrible times, but we're walking in the Spirit. Okay, that's me. That's where I'm thinking things are going. That's the birth. Okay, and basically my sideline on this is pray for God, the baptism of God's Spirit as we go into this. When the water breaks, there's a baby coming with all that water. What type of birth? Yeshua isn't far behind. So that's what I'm arguing in my case. Okay, Daniel Sanders explains it this way in terms of the birth. Born of water is born of flesh. It speaks of the bag of water that every little baby grows in. I don't believe that he is speaking of water baptism here, though it is in the Great Commission. We must all have the higher birth of the Ruach, the Spirit, God's Spirit, to enter the kingdom of heaven spiritually. We must also have a glorified body in order to enter in physically, according to Romans 8:30. God glorifies his people by perfecting them. And 1 Corinthians 15:44, when sown, it is an ordinary human body. When it is raised, it will be a body controlled by the Spirit. If there is an ordinary human body, there is also a body controlled by the Spirit. Both are required. The baptism of the Ruach will help with boldness, but not required to make it through what is coming. That's on the spiritual level, just as physically circumcision is not required, but will definitely have future benefits. So that's Daniel Sanders. Love him too. He is Spirit and Truth, wonderful guy. And so he's relating it to the birth, but he's doing Spirit and Truth, obviously. And he's also qualifying things just so you'll say, well, I'm not, born from the Spirit, and I don't speak in tongues or other things like that. I don't have those particular gifts. You'll still potentially get through just like everybody else, but there are benefits of having a birth of the Spirit. Okay. Shirley, my friend Shirley, I'll be gigging tomorrow with Shirley's prayer group on Revelation 6 and especially the sixth seal. His daughter-in-law, Pincus's wife, was pregnant and near delivery time. When she heard the news that the Ark of God had been captured and that her father-in-law and husband were dead, she went into abnormal labor, bent over, and gave birth. As she was dying, the woman standing over her said to her, "Don't be afraid, because you have given birth to a son." But she didn't answer or show a sign of recognition. She named the child Kavod. Okay, so that means without kavod. Okay, saying the glory has departed from Israel because the Ark of God had been captured and because her father-in-law and husband were deceased now. And she said, the glory of Israel has gone into exile because the Ark of God has been captured. So that's 1 Samuel 4:19 through 22. That's idea number 4. So basically, she's saying the birth is going to be the glory of God, ikavod, leaving for some period of time, and then Yeshua will come back, and that will be the glory of Yeshua returning. So interesting. So not bad, Shirley. I like it. Okay. Mark Weatherling, friend, also Spirit and Truth. The earth was, and Shirley is too, the earth was unformed and void. Darkness was over the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the surface of the water. That's Genesis 1:2. The first elementary principle of all creation and life is Genesis 1:2. Taking what is dead, this age, I'm adding, transforming it into a wellspring of life from which all life comes forth. Yeshua is saying, I am that living water. I don't think Nicodemus got it until he was standing over there at the cross. That experience changed him, which is the only experience that will bring any man from being in deadness to life. I think floods and all the storms of life are a tool used to solidify a man's decision, i.e., are these recent storms and floods man-made or from God? So we need to choose. Thank you, Mark. That's our number 5 on this. And so, we need to determine, is this from God? And I'm arguing that it's God. It's not by man. But this guy, Patrick Brown, is saying absolutely it's from man. Floods are dramatically increasing due to climate change. Okay, so I'm arguing the opposite, which is this is coming from the sun, and God is causing this. So he's writing for Breakthrough. He's co-director of Climate and Energy Team. I'm telling you that the weather is pretty much the same. What's different is the magnetosphere is thinning and the sun is more active and will get more active too. That's, prophesied. So these are all things happening before Yeshua returns, obviously. So let's read some more verses here, comparing Noah's flood, because Mark brought that up. For in 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. I will wipe out every living thing that I have made from the face of the earth. Noah did all that Adonai ordered him to do. After 7 days the water flooded the earth. On the 17th day of the 7th month of the 600th year of Noah's life, all of the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and all the windows of the sky were opened. It rained on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. By the way, the windows of the sky is aruba, and that is a word that is used in Isaiah 24:21, which is 18 through 21. So basically in Isaiah 24, you will see, basically the sluice, the floodgates of heavens open up again, just like Noah. So it does match. It does match, guys. And then the time frame that I'm recording in right now is very close to the 17th day. I'll show you that in a coming slide. But when that day and hour will come, no one knows, not the angels in heaven, not the Son, Yeshua, only the Father. For the Son of Man's coming will be just as it was in the days of Noah. Back then, before the flood, people went on eating and drinking, taking wives and becoming wives, right up to the day, Heshvan 17, Noah entered the ark, he entered it on Heshvan 10. And they didn't know what was happening until the flood came and swept them all away. But by the 17th, that's when the flood actually occurred. Okay? The flood came and swept them all away. It will be just like that when the Son of Man comes. Matthew 24:26 through 39. Then, after the 62 weeks, Mashiach will be cut off and have nothing. The people of the prince yet to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, but his end will come with a flood, and desolations are decreed until the war is over. He will make a strong covenant. We're starting to watch that covenant occur. I truly believe it's the Abrahamic covenant with leaders for 1 week. So he will increase this covenant for 1 week of years, and in the half of the week he will put a stop to the sacrifice and the grain offering. It is Zavak and Minka on the so Zavak is a peace offering, fellowship peace offering. On the wing of the detestable things, the desolator will come and continue until the already decreed destruction is poured out on the desolator. That's Daniel 9:26 through 27. So basically what I'm getting at is Daniel's telling you it's going to come like a flood. The birth pangs are compared to a flood by Daniel. And they're also compared the same way in Luke 21. There will appear signs in the sun, moon, stars, and on the earth. Nations will be in anxiety and bewilderment at the sound and surge of the sea, which could be the peoples, depending upon how you want to interpret it. People will faint with fear at the prospect of what is overtaking the world. And the powers of the Zava, which is kind of interesting, like Isaiah 24, the Zava are listed there. The powers could be fallen angels. So I'm arguing the powers, the Zava, the possibly fallen angels in heaven, will be shaken, and then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with tremendous power and glory. When these things start to happen, stand up and hold your heads high, because you are about to be liberated. Okay, that's the end of the exile, according to my friend Eddie Chumney, when he talked the other day here, and he's going to be coming back again in December to speak to us again. So that's Luke 21, 25 through 28. Very interesting. So basically the floods are coming, okay, like birth pangs, compared back and forth. Noah's Ark, it's interesting. I just wanted to compare and contrast a little bit. So once again, Heshvan 10, which is, Tishri is the month before this. That's when all the good things occur. Heshvan is a bad month. It's a dark month. It's the Halloween month. It's the witches month. Okay, Heshvan 10 is when the animals boarded and Methuselah died. They sat Shiva for 7 days. Heshvan 17 is when Noah's flood began. This year, that day will be November 13th. Okay, the 10th. Then it's the 13th, and then the false Yom Kippur will be the 20th. Okay, the false Yom Kippur is the 13th. The 20th will be the 17th of Heshvan, which would be when the flood starts. Okay, so we'll see if we get a flood of filth or a flood of water or a flood of whatever else on that day. So just watch the 20th. And so, I'm blanking on what day today is. I'm sorry. I should know that. So the main thing is be aware of what's occurring. So we're the 17th. Never mind. Okay. I just looked it up on my phone. So, okay, continuing on then. So rising waters, leveraging VEERS for enhanced global flood preparedness and response, October 29th of 2024. From the findings of the International Panel on Climate Change, predict a rise in both frequency and intensity of local flooding as extreme precipitation and events become more common due to climate change. Flooding, the most common weather-related natural disaster, has intensified in recent decades, leading to profound losses worldwide. Yeah, so they're showing, you can see the chart, it's going up. Disasters from 1990 to 2023. They wrote this in 2024. It's going to be worse in 2024. Just count on it to go up. Okay, and this is written by CAF America by Jeffrey Lewick on global flooding, causes, impact, relief efforts in 2024. This year has seen unprecedented global flooding impacting regions across Central Asia, East Africa, West Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central Europe. In Kazakhstan, rapid snowmelt caused spring floods, while typhoons like Gami and Yagi brought heavy rains to the Philippines and Southeast Asia. In countries such as India and Bangladesh, seasonal monsoons contribute to recurring floods. The rising intensity and frequency of these events may be linked to a shift in El Nino weather patterns, which typically bring drier conditions that weaken storms. Okay? Horrible storms in Brazil. Horrible in 2024. Horrible storms in Germany and parts of Europe. Spain, especially, that's Europe too, death toll crosses 200. And then down here, Western North Carolina, horrific what occurred to those poor people. And this is from The Watchers. They're a news magazine on the internet. And severe storm brings floods to Cyprus, Paphos, Cyprus. Storms and tornadoes sweep through Oklahoma, injuring 11, leaving 9,000. This is just in the past 3 days. This is November 4th, November 3rd, November 2nd, October 30th. Severe hailstorm destroys greenhouses in Spain. Catastrophic floods in Valencia, Spain, caused by historic rainfall, claim over 150 lives, leave dozens missing. Horrible. Spontaneous solar storms cause these extremes. I'm telling you, it's coming from the sun. And so it's just pushing plasma through and, causing these floods. Okay? More global flooding. And they are shattering rain records hourly and daily. Yes, severe thunderstorms cause widespread power outages across Victoria in South Australia. That's October 21st. Heavy rains cause severe flooding in Monterrey, Mexico. That's from October 19th of 2024. Severe floods and landslides claim at least 22 lives in Bosnia and Herzegovina. That's October 4th. And then unusually strong Category 5 atmospheric river hits Alaska and British Columbia September 28th. This is just recent history, people, and it's just bonkers. It's just bonkers. 2 parts of Spain, severe rain and flooding. Parts of Spain appear to merge with the sea after historic rain. In before and after images. This is November 1st of 2024 from AccuWeather. Devastating floods leave dozens dead in Spain. Valencia again. CNN, deadly flooding that rocked Spain this week, following intense historic rainfall, is so expansive and severe the area looked like an inland sea from space. A year's worth of rain fell in just hours. Oh, I wish I had the picture of this. They show the picture of the deluge. Just horrible. I forgot to put it in here. It was a surge, just a horrible surge. It's biblical, people. Okay, 155, probably 200 killed in the catastrophic floods. Parts of the sea now look like an extension of parts of the area now look like an extension of the Balearic Sea. After unprecedented rainfall turned what should be dry ground into a vast expanse of water. Satellite imagery captured. Thank you, CNN, for that. Texas storms back in May. Horrible, horrible, horrible storms across Texas. End of the world scenes after tornadoes, hail, and floods. Amazing, horrible, horrible. This is Bangladesh again. Millions affected. July 4th, 2024. And this is Al Jazeera here. Oh, that was physics.org, which is, they're looking at it too. They're wondering what's going on, physics.org. So video shows tragic moment in Indian family swept away by floodwaters. Horrible, just horrible what's going on. And what you'll also notice is because the sun's involved, you'll have droughts over here, floods over there, and things are shifting. That's the problem. So Mexico's water day zero may come even for the wealthiest residents. This, I'm not sure if I indicated the date, but water scarcity has long been an issue in Mexico City, with the brunt of the shortages happening in lower income neighborhoods on the outskirts of the city center. Horrible, horrible. But then on the other hand, you're going to have the floods. So here's the floods in Spain over there, and the removal of dams in Europe is reviving rivers and boosting biodiversity. Horrible. That's the World Economic Forum talking about that. So I didn't clip where the other one was from, but basically this is Ben Davidson saying May 2024 storms. Okay, so I'll just read it on the right-hand side in the yellow. May 2024 storms, auroral outbreak matched or beat the 2003, 1989, 1921, and 1859 storms. Yeah, and very similar to some of the other solar events. Okay, as for the G4 today, 6/8/24, I challenge you to find a solar wind event on record that matches the weakness of this that caused the G4 storm. The G4 storm shows aurora, but then it also pushes the plasma through onto our heads, forming horrible storms for us. Nobody predicted anything higher than the G1 for today. This has been a trend for a while now. Major acceleration in March 2023, published in April of this year by Dr. Sergei Simonenko. Ben Davidson, does have absolute mastery of the solar wind database, and there's no precedent for the level of geomagnetic disturbance or auroral displays in the last 16 months when comparing solar wind density, speed, phi angle, or BZ. It's not even close. Thank you, Ben. But basically, that's where the storms are coming from. They're being driven by the sun and the solar activities. Now, they can also be riots, okay? So global riots are coming. This is coming from Dmitry Duduman and from David Wilkerson. I'll just read it and see what you think. The voice spoke again. Tell my people that I tried to wake them up through powerful storms, fires, floods, and earthquakes. But even then, they would not wake up. This is why I will pour out my wrath when they least expect it. And he gave him Joel 2:12. Then, therefore, also now, saith the Lord, turn ye even to me with all your heart, and with all your fasting, with all your weeping, and with all your mourning, and I will rend your heart, and not your garments, and turn unto the Lord your God. And he is gracious, for he is gracious, merciful, slow to anger, great in kindness, and repenteth of him of the evil. So basically, that's Duduman, okay? And a little bit more of Duduman down at the bottom here. He said, remember this, Dmitry. The Russian spies have discovered where the nuclear warehouses are in America. When the Americans will think that there is peace and safety coming from Trump, from the middle of the country, some of the people will start fighting against, I believe, Trump's government. It seems to make sense prophetically. And there are others. I don't cite Stan Johnson very often from the Prophecy Club, but he figured it out too about the same time I did. It's against Trump's government. Okay? So that's when the Russian spies will find the nuclear warehouses, and during peace and safety in the middle of the country, the communists will fight back. Okay, on the right-hand side, I see total economic confusion striking Europe, which is Germany first, then Japan, then the United States and Canada and all the other nations shortly thereafter. Germany has not fallen yet. It's close. Japan has not fallen yet. It's close. But then others will fall after that. That's Wilkerson. Wilkerson said the economic holocaust happens when then the Civil War. He is saying that during that time, as Duduman said, we will be nuked. My friend Don V. from Canada said that. So on the bottom here, lower right-hand side, The great Holocaust follows an economic collapse in America. The enemy will make its move when we are weak and helpless. So he's citing Ezekiel 14:13, which is interesting. That's the four plagues. So that's Wilkerson and Duderman, both saying that the riots are something like tsunamis also. Okay, so this is Ben again, suspicious observers, localized severe weather now. Economic, political, cultural turmoil 2024 to 2030. He's accurate with that. Solar kill shot in the 2030s, 2040s. There will be one before that time. Just watch my video from tomorrow. It'll be posted sometime later on tomorrow, and you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. Then the pole shift in micronovas in the 2030s, 2040s. I've got Wilkerson, Duderman agreeing with this, and pundits too. So prophets, and then the pundits like Mark Biltz, who is actually prophetic, but he doesn't claim to be one. Davidson, prophetic, but is just a pundit. Not Neil Armstrong, not the astronaut, Martin Armstrong, and then Mr. Nenner, a Jewish fellow. So basically, I've got so many people saying that this is what's going to happen as we move forward. Okay, and then we've got the idiots on the other side, like Pete Buttigieg, whatever. Okay, he bombs on a CBS interview, blaming the airline turbulence on climate change. No, this is coming from the sun, you idiot. Okay, solar storms surge, electrification fails. Don't blame man. This is coming from God. And as I mentioned with Duderman, it is God trying to get our attention. So in the middle here, I would definitely get the advice about airplanes, flight, turbulence, etc., from a guy who was a major mayor of a small town, and he couldn't even get the potholes fixed in his town. Domino's Pizza had to help him out. So once again, Face the Nation on the right-hand side. Pete, laughing out loud. Effects of climate change are already upon us in terms of our transportation. No, it's the sun. Our climate is evolving because of the sun. Okay, so let's give you some verses and end it up. Yeshua knew that they wanted to ask him, so he said to them, are you asking each other what I meant by saying, in a little while you won't see me, and then a little while later you will see me? Yes, it's true. I tell you that you will sob and mourn, and the world will rejoice. You will grieve, but your grief will turn to joy. When a woman is giving birth, she is in pain because her time has come. But when a baby is born, she forgets her suffering. So you will forget when Yeshua returns, suffering out of joy that the child of Yeshua has come into the world. So you do indeed feel grief now, but I'm going to see you again. Then your hearts will be full of joy, and no one will take away the joy from you. John 16:19 through 22. This is an interesting translation from Dr. Andrew Sargent. From the West, people will fear the name of the Lord, and from the rising of the sun they will revere his glory, but he is like a whole bunch of rushing water that has been funneled through a gorge, becoming all the more violent and dangerous for it, with the Ruach of Yud-He-Vav-He driving it. The Redeemer will come to Zion, to those in Jacob who repent of their sins. Isaiah 59:19 through 20. That was a really cool description. Like a whole bunch of rushing water that has been funneled through a gorge. That's what it's going to be like as we get into this, people. It's going to be overwhelming. Then also, this is Romans 8, that it too would be set free from its bondage to decay and would enjoy the freedom accompanying the glory that God's children will have. We know that until now the whole creation has been groaning as with pains of childbirth, and not only it, but we ourselves. We have the first fruits of the Spirit grown inwardly as we continue waiting eagerly to be made sons, that is, to have our whole bodies redeemed and set free. It was in this hope that we were saved, but if we see what we hope for, it isn't hope. After all, who hopes for what he already sees? But if we continue hoping for something we don't see, then we will still wait eagerly for it with perseverance. Romans 8:21 through 25. So, getting close to the end here. When that day comes, you won't ask anything of me. Yes, indeed, I will tell you whatever you ask from the Father, he will give you in my name. Till now, you haven't asked for anything in my name. Keep asking, and you will receive, so that your joy may be made complete. John 16:23 through 24. So ask the Father if the birth pangs are occurring. Okay, we're in the birth pangs. We're not in the tribulation. We're not in the great tribulation. A wedding is coming up. It will occur during a fall festival, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot. What garments will you wear? You can't be naked. It's a wedding. Be blessed. Thank you very much for your time. and we'll see you again next week.